Good afternoon, everyone. I first want to welcome you and say well done on your presentations. You've all done brilliantly. My name is Goldie. Some of you may know that I've recently made a permanent move from temporary staffing, where I've been for around about 8 years, to Victoria Street Recruitment team. So I started off in the temporary staffing team with Matchbanks. So some of you might know Matchbank. Anyone here know Matchbank? And that came in-house back in 2012, which, whilst it was a fantastic move, it did also come with challenges. There were several different departments which all of a sudden came under one roof. So that in itself brought difficulties. So today I have decided to bring to you the idea of bringing teams together to provide better healthcare. Because although we don't provide healthcare directly ourselves, we are responsible for those people who go out and see patients in their homes or patients in the nursing homes or all aspects of nursing in the community. So collaborative working in partnership. So that is both recruitment and temporary staffing working together as one team rather than two separate teams with two separate goals. So steering towards change. Now I wanted to talk a little bit about sharing the values of the organisation. And the key to collaborative working is making sure you share the same aims as your organisation. And the other important aspect is communication. You've all talked a lot today about communication and how important it is, and I agree, it's very important. So quality, putting the quality at the heart of everything we do. Both the recruitment team and temporary staffing need to make sure that they are recruiting quality staff and that those quality staff are going into the right placements at the right time. Valuing relationships with others. So that's valuing the relationships with the people we're taking on, but also our colleagues, every person that we talk to, particularly the recruitment team who need to pass on information to the bookings team and vice versa. Delivering services we're proud of. I want to stand there in 3 years' time and watch how well the function of temporary staffing has grown along with recruitment. And making a positive difference in our community. And like I said, we don't directly liaise with the community, but the staff we recruit do. So by making sure that we have happy staff means that they then deliver a good service into the community, and hopefully we can retain those staff. And lastly, communication, of course, is essential for all teams to make sure they're providing a consistently smooth and seamless service, which has been today a little bit of a challenge. So how can we make changes in the short term? I think one of the small moves we can make is getting temporary staffing team who are in Edgware to visit the recruitment team who's in Victoria on a regular basis. At the moment, only 1 or 2 have ever been to Victoria. I know certainly the recruitment team don't go off to Edgware very often, so I think that would help with building relationships. Temporary staffing can send a weekly list of areas they struggle to fill and why, because at the moment the recruitment only really know about the areas that are hard to fill through the request to recruits, whereas they might have more of an idea of what's coming through if temporary staffing was sending those figures over. And we can promote that an advantage to bank is that they can apply internally for permanent roles. A lot of people don't know this, but once they are on the bank, once they've dipped their toe in the water, they can say, do you know what, I really enjoy this and I'm going to try and aim for a permanent job there. Prioritising recruitment's requests for information and keeping open lines of communication. So for instance, if the recruitment team have requested some information from temporary staffing, it's a complicated request, it's not something we can get straight away. Pick up the phone and say, this is quite a difficult thing, it's going to take us a little bit of time, we're not going to be able to get this information to you until maybe tomorrow. And I don't know if you can see this down here, having a telephone conversation weekly with the leads for each division, followed up with a brief email. So that way that email can go out to the other members of the team as well, and it's not just with the leads of that section. Most importantly, for recruitment, they can ensure that in every interview, the successful candidate is taken into the permanent role, but the next best candidate, or even the next best 3 candidates, are then offered a position with bank. They might not want to take bank, but at least if they're given that option, they might say, well, yes, I'd like to do that. You start the recruitment process. And quite often you will find that part the way through the recruitment process, that best candidate has pulled out. And then that way, that person's already part recruited because they have started being recruited to bank. So then they can go into the position rather than it having to go back out to recruit again. Making sure that every candidate is aware that they can work additional hours through the bank, because they don't know this at first, but especially if they work part-time, they can do a few extra hours, particularly in different departments, to broaden their experience. Making sure every withdrawn candidate is offered the option of taking bank. Having worked in recruitment for a little while now, a few times people have withdrawn their acceptance because they can't commit to the hours of the permanent job. But flexible working, I've turned around on 2 occasions and said, we can offer you flexible working if you go on the bank. They've come on and then they've ended up going for the permanent job once their situation has changed. Providing regular updates on recruitment progress in each area. It just helps with the communication and knowing what's going on. And lastly, work together with temporary staffing to problem solve as a joint effort. So that problem solving can be done together so that when that challenge comes up again in the future, they know exactly how to deal with it in each department. So long-term changes we can make. I don't know, some of you may have heard that there have been talks about the possibility of temporary staffing coming into Victoria Street. It's still just in the talk process at the moment, but certainly it is there in the vision for the future. This will help team discussions to take place freely, and they don't then have to think about the hour and a half travelling that will be needed. It will enable each team to see how hard the other team is working to achieve their same shared goal. It will make team building events easier to coordinate. Attending management meetings will be easier. And I like this one goal, one vision will be shared by all, approached in the same way and recognised by each area for their own individual input. And this will also open up areas for further streamlining. I mean, at the moment, we're talking a lot about streamlining, getting everybody working together and multi-trained, which will eventually save the trust money. So the result, an efficient and seamless recruitment placement service who sees candidates from the beginning of the recruitment process right the way to the end of the process where they're placed in that placement and getting feedback on them in that placement. Watching candidates evolve from an application to potentially being a key figure in the organisation. There's some people here I've seen grow from the bank and up through the ranks in CLCH, and it's really very rewarding for us as a team. It'll mean we can offer a better delivery of service to the recruited candidate as they feel they're cared for from the start to the finish. Exceptional communications, and lastly, managers feel they're not having to deal with so many departments, not having to say their requests again and again, explain the situation. They explain it to one person, and then that information is shared with both recruitment and bookings, and it is dealt with from there. So does anybody have any questions? Yes?
The bank staff, the temporary staff,
Mm-hmm.
you're saying that if you're a permanent member of staff, you can go on to the bank?
Yeah.
Mm. Are you paid separate, differently? Or
You are paid, you would be paid separately, so you would have a different assignment number. That does have tax implications. It does, yeah. Was that what you were going to ask?
they messed up the money somehow. They weren't taxing me out of the bank money, they were taxing me out of my permanent money, if that makes sense. So my permanent money was going wrong.
So you were getting emergency tax or that higher rate of tax on your permanent. I mean, that sounds like there was a mistake there, but no. You only get a discount on your main job, which should have been your permanent role. So maybe if you did quite a few bank hours, it wasn't a few, and I'm not sure what happened in that instance, but it should be that you get your discount on your tax with a permanent role, and then the few additional hours you do through bank, you'd then be paying the normal rate of tax. Yes, please.
Yeah, because like with us, we encountered a lot of problems with regards to having bank staffs or having somebody cancelling their banks at the very least hour, and us having difficulty finding for one. But trying to find a reason why they keep cancelling, or probably they're having difficulty of finding somebody to work to us, and it's because that instead of like banks working 7.5 hours, they come in there. It's because the manager, the matron, or whosoever, budget-wise, they say, only recruits them for 4.5 hours or 5 hours in a day. And some of these bank people come from like far places, and for them to just work 5 hours and things like that, so it's not well paid for. And at the same time that they're saying that we are the least of amongst bank people who are being paid, and which is, I think, lower than the other bank, or lower than the other staffs who's doing the banks. So what I would like to ask is that, what's the difference, or what's the savings between just lessening the hours of staff than paying them in full and assuring that they will be coming into the job that they're being asked for? What's this? Because they're saying that, when you are calling for a bank, you're paying for the calling and you're paying for the looking. And at the same time that, the percentage of the hours paid, things like, I don't know how to explain this one, but they say that we are spending more. It's because that, there's a lot of cancellation, there's a lot of sickness level, and it's because that, no one wants to work with us because of the lack of hours that we're giving them, rather than really recruiting for somebody on a full 7.5 hours or a full.
Do you mean recruiting permanently for them on that, or do you mean getting somebody from bank to cover those full shifts?
Because at the end of the day, they'll cancel it because, I'll just be paid their 5 hours, when in fact I found another place where I'm being paid 7.5 hours. So it's two problems with us, because our permanent staff goes off sick, and then the one that we've recruited, or the one that we've asked to do have, has just cancelled, and it's because that we're offering them less. So
it's a very interesting point, because it is something that does come up. I mean, the cancellation, they know it's only bank, they can cancel it last minute, they then go and change it for maybe an agency shift that they're doing. They might need to do the same hours and get more money. So it is down to, again, looking at getting the right staff who have got that duty of care. They know if they cancel that shift, they are going to affect the patients and their colleagues. It's making sure you've got the right staff who have got the right ethics in that job. So I think that comes down to the recruitment in the first place, because it shouldn't be a last minute cancellation. If you take that shift, if you agree to that shift, you should commit to it. That's how I feel. Or if you don't want to do the fewer hours, then don't commit.
There's no penalties, though.
There's no penalties, no. Although it is recorded if there are too many cancellations, we'll then bring them into the office to say that you're letting people down, people don't want you on their wards anymore.
I think excellent presentation, very practical. I think follow up with Sue, because she is passionate, and there's nothing wrong with being passionate about this. And I think all this information is helpful to come up with the right solution for different services, so you can ask staff.
See, I'm not temporary staffing anymore. I have officially left temporary staffing now, but I'm still really passionate about it. And I'm hoping that once the recruitment team and the temporary staffing team fuse together, that they will somehow get me involved in both of them together. That's what I'm hoping anyway. So please, yeah, if you've got any feedback, I've worked with the bank for years, so I'm really interested in carrying it forwards.
Thank you.
Thank you.